The rumor mill is a churnin' about this Michael Jackson biopic. There has
Oh
been a rumor
goodness.
out. There's been a rumor out that the Michael Jackson biopic is going to be split into two parts, and that it might not even come out this year. Chris, what are your thoughts? We got to talk
Yeah.
about this.
Man, yeah. The rumor mill, it never sleeps, especially when Michael's name is in it. Yeah, I still think there's a chance that with it being potentially being split into two parts, I still think there's a chance that it could come out before the holidays. Because Antoine Fuqua, the director of the biopic, said that he feels that the finished product is strong enough to compete for Oscars. So if that's the case, part one could come out October, November. That's typically when a lot of Oscar-worthy films come out. And I'm thinking that the rough timeline could be from the Jackson 5 to ending with Man in the Mirror in like Wembley 88 or January 89. Like let that be the benchmark as far as like timeline. And then part two could begin, it could be like next spring, next summer, potentially. It start at the dangerous era and then work its way to the end of his life. That's my theory. What about you?
Well, I first of all, I want to say I like that because that's my that is my main concern. I've always
Hmm.
felt like from the moment I heard this rumor, I'm like, well, first of all, number one, it's one person's life, so how do you split it into two parts and then keep the mainstream audience's attention?
Right.
Because people are like, oh, well, Wicked is doing it, Wicked did it, and I'm like, well, Wicked technically is doing that, but we don't know number one how the second part's gonna do. I
Right.
mean, I'm sure they hope that it's gonna be as good as the big how as good as the first part. We don't know how it's going to do in the box office. I don't
Hmm.
know if a biopic has ever been split into two parts like this, but I like the timeline that you mentioned because that I think would keep people's attention. There is a section of the population that only like kind of identify with Michael Jackson up to like Thriller or Bad. You know how
Yeah.
some of those folks are. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I love Thriller, Michael Jackson," or "Yeah, I like Smooth Criminal," and then after that, they fall all the way off.
Hmm.
So to me, I was like, well, how are people going to watch that? Like, how are people going to watch anything after that
Yeah.
by
That's a good
itself?
point.
But
Hmm.
I think, though, because I've heard that they're only going to take this movie up until the 90s. If they do two parts, I want them to go all the way to the 2000s.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, is that realistic, though?
I don't know. Again, I mean, and again, this is all speculation. We don't know how much they filmed, before they said, "Hey, it's a wrap. We've got a finished film. Now we just got to go through the editing process and cinematography and all that stuff." So I don't know. I mean, if it's true that they only went up to the '90s, then to me that's a missed opportunity. And it is a dicey topic. I mean, because if they were to try to say, hey, like if they're targeting anybody as far as the allegations and stuff, then they could be held liable for like defamation of character, that sort of thing. So,
Right.
so yeah,
That's the rumor that they.
yeah, that's the rumor. But I'm hoping that if it is true that they got enough to do two films, like make it worth our while because we will show up and the world will be watching. So I think it could be the biggest biopic ever because to a point that you made, and I didn't even realize this, is like I can't think of another biopic that was split in two parts like that on a grand scale and put in the movie theaters. A lot of the OGs remember the Jackson's American Dream, but that was on TV. It was never
Right.
in the movie theater. Um, so yeah, that I think that would be huge to split it into two parts, and if they can break out the timeline, kind of how I described it, I'm showing up for both parts.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely show up for both parts. I do hope that this movie is able to break all the records because I know that's another thing with the estate is they like to keep in that same um fashion of what Michael used to do is be really like conscious about like, hey, I want to be the first to do this or the
Right.
biggest selling this or the top of so I hope that the biopic can break those records that I think Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody
Right.
made. But my other concern is now I have it in my phone. I think the movie was supposed to come out in on the April 18th or April 3rd or April 8th or something like that originally.
Mhm.
Keeps popping up on my phone, annoying me, saying Michael Jackson biopic and confusing me. And I'm like, wait, this is not in a couple of weeks or a couple of days. This is now in April. Now the rumor is that it might, if they split it into two parts, may be pushed even further back into 2026. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. If it does get pushed back to early 2026, it still falls within Oscar season, so that's still on track based on what Antoine Fuqua said. And again, if that's true, I can understand why the fans are frustrated because we're like, hey, we've been waiting on this for many years. And in fact, like the last true project that we got from the estate was the Escape album. That was 2014. That was 11 years ago.
I know.
So as far as like albums, I mean, I know we've had documentaries and stuff since then, but the first like really big thing that like a lot of people were paying attention to was Escape. So for us, for us to have the biopic, I think it would get people excited about, listening to Michael's music again, and just going back, like there would be a huge resurgence and people, understanding who he truly was as an artist.
Yeah, and I hope that's what we gain no matter what they decide, right? Like whether it's in 2
Hmm.
parts or 3 parts or whatever. I hope that we just everybody gains a better understanding of Michael, and I hope I gain a better understanding of Michael behind the scenes because
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm gonna say this again because somebody commented to me not long ago and was like, MJ Fangirl, what more do you want? You want them to make something up so you can learn something about Michael? And I'm like, no, I'm learning
No.
about Michael because I was not in the room. I never met Michael. Again, aw, sad story that I have because I was so close. But I never met him, wasn't in the room when all these things are happening. And like when people come out and the collaborators talk about different stories, that is such it's a blessing because you get to really understand and learn more about the songs that you grew up and know and love. But you don't really have, I mean, what about the people that were with him day in and day out outside of the collaborators? Because you can ask
Exactly.
a lot of the, like, even when I spoke to Vincent Patterson a couple months ago, who, shout out to him, the interview was awesome. And even
Yes.
Travis Payne, who I've also done an interview with, they're not saying that they had Michael's direct line. Michael's having somebody call them or they're having somebody, get in touch with Michael for them. They're not like his friends at home. They're still
Right.
working collaborators. So what does his family say? Or what are these stories that they haven't told before that they'd be saving for the biopic? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to hear about and that I want to know. Um, and for those that don't know, Solomon, if you could pull up the last picture, which is, yeah, so this picture is Jafar, and this is Jafar Jackson dressed up as Michael. This is the only photo that we've seen so far, officially released photo that we've seen as far as promotion from the film. Everything else
Hmm.
has been just like paparazzi photos or leaked photos of Jafar filming, but this looks pretty legit.
I agree, and this looks like it happened during the Danger Store because I remember having the Bucharest show on DVD, and this is the jacket that he wore at the very end doing Man in the Mirror before doing the Rocket Man stunt.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm I gotta say, I'm sick of the rumors. I just want everybody to just be a little bit more open about what's going on and give us some news. A couple. This is going to be my last point too, just quickly because we wanted to address this rumor. But the at CinemaCon a couple of weeks ago, I believe this is on April 1st, 2025. People were expecting that Lionsgate was going to do this big presentation and include Michael, and they were just like, nothing right now. We will announce a lot of exciting stuff in the coming weeks, which is a far cry from what they did at last year's CinemaCon, where they showed a teaser trailer or whatever, and people were like freaking out about it, saying how amazing it was.
Right.
So
And I was expecting that trailer that you're talking about at last year's CinemaCon. I was expecting us to see that Super Bowl weekend because that to me would have been the perfect opportunity to do it because he performed at the Super Bowl in '93. So get people excited and remind them like, hey, Michael performed at the Super Bowl, but to honor that, let's drop the teaser trailer that everybody's been waiting on and get people even more excited, right? So yeah, it was a shame. I remember being tuned in. I'm like, this is the first time in years I've even bothered to look at Super Bowl commercials, and I saw nothing. I'm like, man, what a letdown.
yeah, I'm all hopes that we're gonna still see it in 2025, but if not, we'll be there in 2026. Like, what can we say, right?
Right.
We're
It'll happen when it's supposed to, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Chris,
Mm.
thank you so much. Chris Lacy, you guys, hip hop choreographer, journalist, big time Michael Jackson fan, and awesome contributor to all these like really cool articles that he's written about Michael Jackson online. Great contributor to the conversation today. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for anybody that enjoys the articles that I write, stay tuned. Here in the next couple months, History 30 is on the way. I'm like 80% done with it.
Ah, yes, and that
Yeah.
now talk about something that needs more love, like, that album
Yes.
does not get enough love.
I agree. So, and again, very similar to what I said at the top of the show. If there's something I want to read but nobody's written it yet, then it's on me to write it. So that's what inspired me to start doing History 30. So, here in the next couple months, you'll see something.
You heard it here, folks. Make sure that you guys are following Chris Lacy on his socials. I'll have them also down below in the description box so you can go and click through to that. And also, don't forget, join the join the MJ Fangirl Patreon. Join the MJ Fangirl Patreon. We post all of these in studio episodes ad free first, sometimes a week early before they drop on YouTube or any other platform. So definitely do that. Thank you guys so much for your support, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.